Welcome to Synergy, everyone. This is Isabel
and Wind. And boy, we're just gonna jump right in. I didn't even tell Isabel the word before we started recording.
no. I know we talked about it. I guessed one word, but then I have a suspicion that the word might have changed. So
Oh, I wonder why. Why do you feel the word may have changed?
I don't know. It was just a feeling. I was just open to anything, I guess.
Okay, well, so this is episode 16, right?
Yeah, 16. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, and so we were just talking a couple days ago, and we we realized that it's been 4 weeks since just me and Isabel did a show
I
by ourselves.
know. So true. And I miss it. I just miss our conversations. It's great to have guests, but it's also nice to be just the two of us.
I don't know. I'm always thinking about patterns and stuff. So episode 16, and it's been 4 weeks since we recorded. So 16 is 4 squared, right? No,
Yeah.
4 times 4 is 16. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. I don't know.
That's
It's been
true.
4 weeks since we talked. Episode 16, 4 squared. I don't know. There must be
I love
something
those connections. I like that.
there. um, but yeah, we haven't done a show together in a while, and so I was thinking recently about something or some reason this word had been coming to me. And then a couple days ago, you and I talked, and then I was like, "Oh, right, it's my turn to get a word."
Yeah.
And then you said you had written down a word that you thought it might be. And
Yeah, I
just
did.
like the last time you and I just did a show together 4 weeks ago, um, like when you said you had a word.
The word afraid.
You said you had a word. You weren't sure if you wanted to use it or if another one would come to you. A few minutes after you had told me that, I kept hearing, "Don't be afraid. Tell her that," and it was silly to me. So I said, "Don't be afraid," and you're like, "Oh my God, that's the word, afraid."
I love it. That was so awesome.
Well, and this time you had written down a word you thought that I might choose, and I didn't know you had done that. And I was like, "Oh, this kind of word's been coming to me. I don't know, but whatever." And I wasn't really sure what I would go with. And you said, "Oh, I feel like this word came to me. You were saying this as a word that you might pick." And so then I stopped and I thought about it while we were on our FaceTime together, and I was like, I felt the C word run through me, and I couldn't really connect to it. It hit me twice and then it took off. And then I was like, I don't know, all of a sudden was like energy ran through me, and I was like, alchemy, or not alchemy, but anarchy.
Anarchy, yes.
Anarchy. And I was like, oh, well, there's a C in there. And then I said, it feels kind of like chaos to me, but it's a little bit different. And you were like, oh my God. So you pulled out this sheet of paper and you faced it on the screen to me, and it said chaos.
Yes. I love it. I just love it. It's so cool.
Well, and I decided to not change the word because it just felt
Awesome.
too awesome to go to. I mean, what a story. You can't change that.
No, that's so cool. I think, and it came to me like, I want to say probably after the recording with Nick. So 2 episodes
Oh,
ago. Yeah.
interesting. I wonder why it came to
Yeah.
you.
I don't know. It just popped in my head. It was so
Hmm.
bizarre. Yeah. And
Interesting.
the reason why, because I know when we were talking, you said, oh, now that you think of a word, like I'm going to pick your word. But I know it's not my word because it's
Hmm.
not something that I guess I'm knowledgeable of, or it's not a
Hmm.
word that I use
Hmm.
normally anyway.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah. What does it
Maybe
mean for you?
well, I don't know. Well, first of all, I decided for the people who are going to watch this live or on YouTube, I decided to let my hair just be wild and
Chaos.
chaotic. This is my normal hair.
Oh, I should
My
do the same.
gifted from my dad, who is a white man, but had a full on afro when he had
Yeah.
hair. And my mom, who has super straight hair, and you're going to play with your hair. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna be chaos too.
Yeah.
There.
So I've got the best of both, like super straight combined with super kinky hair, and it just does this thing.
That's funny.
And I also decided to not wear a shirt today And I felt like, I don't know, I'm just feeling it as opposed, I don't know if it's almost more of an experiential thing that I'm having with the word chaos today.
Yeah.
Uh, so chaos. Now I'll get right into an interesting thing too. This is, for the listeners, this is 2018, August 22nd, I think today.
Yeah, 4. 2 2.
Oh, whoa. And 8 is 4
Yeah.
plus 4. So anyway, right.
Sorry, I love this.
I know, me too. I mean, I think we're already describing chaos, but just in the fact that we can't get to any fucking point.
Poor listeners. We're chaotic just in itself.
So, okay, so it's 2018, back in, back around the time that we were talking about doing the podcast in like February or so. Around that time, my twin flame, Allison, was like going through something with me, and she was like, I just don't know, like, you are chaos, you are anarchy. And she's like, I just don't know that I can be around that. Well, then it amplified when I connected with a partner, since we had opened our relationship, partner Taylor, and she was just like, oh, Allison was having a hard time with all of that. Plus, she just kept going, you just laugh at chaos. And I said, well, I don't know if I laugh at chaos. It just seems silly to me that people think that what I laugh at is chaotic.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, because I was like super confused as to why this was something that was perceptibly hurtful, for instance, to somebody's feelings, that I would be laughing at things that to me were, I don't know, just silly human behavior, and
Yeah.
nothing more truthful than silly human egotistical behavior.
Right.
And that's how I've been my whole life. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to pick on one person. I'm just across the board. And I was in the Navy. Well, the Navy still is, a lot of ways, still tied to its pirates roots, which is very chaotic and crazy. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the Navy that either other branches of service would not even like they just can't fathom it.
Interesting.
So, and my dad was in the Navy, and one of my earrings just fell out.
I love it.
And his dad
If you
was in the
guys are
Navy.
Listening, you have to go on our YouTube channel.
You gotta watch
See
this
the
one.
video. This is so cool.
I don't understand. So, but I guess my point is, like, my whole life has probably been chaos, and yet I've always tried to really provide this balance that says, I have it wrong. This life shouldn't be like this.
Right.
Everybody's trying to control things, and I should be like them. But then I would try and do it, and all I would imagine is like big wads of shit stuck in their ass. Like, no, you're wrong. I'm not.
Yeah.
But because I can't figure out a way to be calm with myself about whatever I experience or whatever I feel or whatever I think, I must be crazy or something, But in the end, like, this awakening journey over the last few years has been anything but calm. But now I did find that place, though. I found that place that, like, the Christ or the Buddha or other heart master teachers talk about, that serenity in the void, that serenity, that everlasting eternal serenity. And when I'm in those states, it's so calm that I almost don't want to come back into the body, because it's so painful to experience one and the other at the same time.
Yeah.
So chaos to me is a very experiential thing. And I wanted to ask you, first, how do you say chaos in French? And two, what does it mean? Because words have a different meaning in different languages.
Yeah. It's chaotic. So chaos,
Okay, chaotic is a
the
French word
same.
then.
It's
Okay.
spelled the same way, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, with an S at the end.
Okay.
And the meaning is, I guess, to paint a picture, it would be like in the middle of a kindergarten that is out of control, where
Mm,
there's kids
mm,
running and screaming, and it's just like, this is chaotic. But there's also, your life can be chaotic in the sense that you feel, and I think you touch on something very important, that is the control. You feel everything is out of control. I
mm,
think that's a key component element that needs to be in the chaos in order for it to be chaotic, is like
mm.
that sense of like losing control.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So do you feel then, how do you feel about the word chaos when you think about it? Do you think about it in terms like that, or what's that like for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I really admire you to be able to laugh at chaos. I don't think it's weird. I think it's like something that all of us thrive to be at, right? Like to be capable of, I don't know, appreciating chaos, to be, I guess you have to be present and have no expectation in order to
Hmm.
be in that state or in that environment that is chaotic. Because I know you go to a lot of festivals and things like
Hmm.
that, and for me that's chaotic. Like I'll
Hmm.
rarely will show up to a festival,
Hmm.
um, but I really admire that, and I guess that's something that for me is important, to find my inner peace while being in that chaotic aspect, and that's where I would have to be present and have no expectations, but also trust that the illusion, right, that whatever
Hmm.
happened, whatever the outcome is, it's for the best, and I can create whatever I want no matter where I am. And it's kind of funny because now thinking about it, for the past 2 weeks my life have had chaotic events,
Hmm.
which now I consider as they were opportunities for me to find inner peace while having a chaotic environment.
Hmm.
Um, and not just environment, like my internal state was chaotic. Like I had all those crazy emotions that, like,
Hmm.
it was just unreal. Like it was shifting from jealousy to anger to insecure to, like, it was just insane stuff that I'm like, where is this coming from? So for me, that
Hmm.
is chaotic state, but yet somehow I was able to find that inner peace and disconnect myself from the emotional side of me, and then go into that observation and looking at it and just contemplating what's going on.
Like maybe, yeah, if it's, unless it's personal, I mean, you want to share like one specific example
Yeah, of
of what was
course.
chaotic to you and then how you found your way out of it.
Yeah, it's very personal, but I'm an open person. So,
Hmm.
um, I I've been struggling, I guess, for the past 5 years, 4 years, with something that happened in my first marriage, where when I divorced my ex-husband, he had been cheating on me for a whole year, and I had
Hmm.
no clue about it. And that kind of triggered insecurity in me of like not wanting to be played again in my life.
Hmm.
And I've been struggling with those emotions of trusting. I've always trusted my partners in the
Hmm.
past, but that happening kind of like instilled, I don't know, some struggle, internal struggle, right? Because you always end up thinking like, what could I've done differently that would have changed the scenario?
Hmm.
Until I started trusting that everything was happening for a reason. For me, that was good. But all of a sudden, like I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks ago, all those emotions came back, which was so bizarre because I fully trust my husband. And
Hmm.
I, like, there's nothing that lead me to believe that there's anything going on outside of
Hmm.
our relationship. And I'm conscious of that, like my mind knows that, but yet
Hmm.
the emotional physical aspect bring anxiety, and like, and then the thought process start, right, like what's
Hmm.
going on. And it's so bizarre because it's like, it's unreal, like it's pure chaos because there's no logic to it. There's no, it's out of control. Like it's everything that I'm like,
Hmm.
what the heck is going on?
Hmm.
And then I'm lucky to have a loving partner that is very open and also extremely supportive, because that could be scary for a partner to see someone
Mm-hmm.
just completely lose it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
completely lost control of everything. In the sense that I was crying, I was like begging for attention. I was like, it was just, and then talking about this makes me feel
Mm-hmm.
like really disgust at myself
Oh,
that I acted
oh,
that way in some ways,
oh, okay.
because it's
Yeah.
not me. Like
Uh,
it's it's really weird. But yet I was able to kind of like reflect upon it and be like, okay, not necessarily why is this happening, but what am I going to do with this? Like
mm,
what reaction do I want? Or what do I want to grow out of this? What do I want to learn from this? So for me, I don't know if that helped, the
mm-hmm.
example helped, but it was really, and I'm talking about a 12-hour.
Mm,
And what I've learned in those situations is just go to bed, like just go to
mm,
sleep. And if you can fall asleep, like I gave
mm-hmm.
myself Reiki the whole day.
Mm,
I went into meditative state, and that allowed me to kind of shift. And what's interesting is the morning after, like I felt like I need to apologize. And I apologized to Austin, my partner, but the apology was more to myself,
mm,
like in the sense like it's okay, don't judge yourself. So I kind of apologized to myself, and sometimes we apologize to our partner expecting that they'll apologize back. And it
mm-hmm,
was
mm-hmm,
so important for me to not receive that apology back. Like
mm,
I did not want to do it for that reason.
mm-hmm,
And I think it was my that was kind of my way to find my inner peace through that whole chaotic event that happened. That was my way to go back to a state of like, it's okay to lose it sometimes. It happens.
mm-hmm,
We're still
mm-hmm,
human,
mm,
experiencing emotions and in the
mm-hmm,
physical body. But yeah, it's also important to forgive ourselves about it and to allow the process of growth in observing those emotions and reactions. I'm hoping it'll never happen, but I kind of know it will probably happen again. Maybe to a less intense, event and more the capacity to learn from it. But
mm,
yeah, so for me, when you say that you have the capacity to laugh at like chaotic situation, like I
mm-hmm,
admire that. I really want to be there. I want to have that capacity.
mm.
Mhm.
Interesting. You brought up a lot of things that I uh sort of would I think elaborate on in some ways. I think when it comes to chaos, but I wonder. So now that you've been through that, where do you feel you currently are with chaos? Then having gone through that, like, and now that you just shared that story,
Yeah.
since the beginning, when we started talking a few minutes ago till now, do you have any more flushed out concepts of chaos then?
Yeah, and it's funny because something happened yesterday, and I feel it's a build up to this conversation today.
Mm, mm-hmm,
Yesterday, I was like, I felt like everything at work was going too fast. I felt overwhelmed, which again, like that's that sense of like, I'm being bombarded by so many things
mm,
around me. And then I thought, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna do what I can do and just be present. And I did
mm-hmm.
that. And I came home to a $20,000 bill that I
Oof.
owe to tax revenue in Canada.
Ooh, mama.
And it was like I thought, oh my goodness. And that was just like a pile up on the chaos, right? Like it was
Uh-huh.
just like adding to the fire basically.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, like I had the emotions, of course, like, but I wasn't reactive. I was more in the sense like, I want this done right now. Like I wanted this taken care of right now. But it was 5 o'clock. All offices were closed. There was no way I could reach anyone at Canada Revenue. And yeah, so I had to let it go because
Mm,
I couldn't do anything. And being present mean in the present moment, there was nothing I could do about that check. So why worry about it? Why freak out about it? Why lose
Mm-hmm.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I feel like being capable to not react to that situation, allow things to unfold more peacefully internally. Even though I was being
Mm-hmm.
bombarded with all those things, I had the choice to create my own reality too. I felt like I was able to play with the chaos. I felt like, and I kind of felt it was funny. I called Austin and I'm like, yeah, I just got a $20,000 bill, ha ha ha. And like,
Ah,
because I don't believe that I owe that. I truly
yeah,
believe it's a pure mistake.
yeah.
But it's still like I didn't sleep at all
Mm,
last night. Like
mm.
I was like it was running in my head. So my subconscious mind, ego driven subconscious mind, was still stuck with that idea. So I know in my body that it's difficult for me to release those emotions, even though my mind was more like, oh, whatever. Yeah. So
So you should have. What the point of that one is that you should have never filed taxes for prostitution.
right, exactly. Like, why would I? Yeah.
You should have just kept that to yourself.
Or never file taxes ever,
At
right?
all.
Like that's the idea.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, what is it? If it's 20,000 Canada, then it's probably $5 US, right?
Right. That's so true. Oh my goodness. Such a difference. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. But
Oh
yeah.
man. Well, I mean, those are good. Yeah. I feel like people are probably happy that they're hearing these personal stories a little bit because, if I'm listening to somebody speak, I want to be able to relate to what they're saying, especially if I'm
Mm,
thinking maybe there's a self-help uh, uh, kind of factor in there for me. So, I'm grateful that you shared, and I bet you a lot of other people probably can relate somehow.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm laughing.
We all.
See what I mean? So,
Yeah.
will people think I'm callous, or will they understand that to me chaos is funny? And yet, when I'm in the middle of a chaotic situation, if I'm the direct recipient, I act like a lot of people do, depending on the situation and depending on the timing.
Right.
Sometimes when my Achilles ruptured, and it ruptured up from the bottom of my ankle all the way up to the behind the knee, it was a full rupture. I
Wow.
fucking laughed. Now it hurt. It
Yeah.
hurt so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
I mean, but I laughed.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, and man, I don't know. I'm getting better at laughing about the random
Yeah.
financial things that pop up here and there that make zero sense to me.
Yeah.
I filed my taxes in April. It's 20 weeks and I still haven't got my fucking refund. When I look on the IRS website, it's been for 20 weeks saying your refund is being processed.
Interesting. That's
So
funny.
I'm learning that's helping me, I feel,
Yeah.
become more about laughing at all the situations that hit me. Now, also bees love me and they love to come up and just randomly sting me for whatever. I mean, I'll be minding my own business. You should sting me. I'm learning to laugh more and more about those.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. There's still some things that catch me, and when they catch me off guard, and they make zero sense to me. And if I were trying to be logical,
Right.
then I get frustrated or angry, volatile for a minute, whatever. But more and more, these things happen, and when they happen, I just realize that no matter what, I'm safe. No matter what, nothing's going
Exactly.
to take away the roof over my head. Nothing's going to send me to the hospital that doesn't need to send me to the hospital. And if I go to the
Right.
hospital, it's going to work out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm never going to be out of money. Like whatever. It's not, and I'm not even
Yeah.
like a wealthy person by the standards of wealth that we use in the world today. But I know that I'm always going to be abundant and
Right.
survive. I know that I'm not allergic to bee stings, and if I were, I guess I would have to carry an EpiPen with me and still deal with it. Whatever, like I
Yeah.
guess more and more, but it's all subjective, right?
It is. It is. But in the end, who's better off? Right.
Exactly. Exactly. But more, it's teaching me even more for me on this mystical journey. It's teaching me how to be in the cosmic place with everything, where looking at the human aspect of my body and experience from the outside or from the inside, whichever what you want to say,
Yeah.
you know, and laughing at it, going, hey, you're alive. Like, these are
That's it.
just indications that you're still in a body.
That's it. And I feel like you're touching on something that makes me realize that all the chaotic experience I've had, it's all about that sense of security. If you feel safe, and I'm truly speaking from like the first chakra, which is like your security, safeness in relationship, feeling secure with money, feelings like all the different, I'm not just talking financially, or I'm not just talking in terms of like, okay, I'm safe, there's no people that will attack me. It's really a general sense of safety. And if you are at that state where like, yeah, I'm okay, I have a roof, I'm going to be fine, it doesn't matter, that sense of safety seems to be stronger and allowing you to be comfortable in the chaos.
Yeah, and I feel like a few things want to run through. I wonder which one wants to come out first. Here's an example. I mean, I think most people who have been listening to us for a little while know that I have a Harley Davidson.
Oh yeah.
That's loud, you know. Some are louder than more, and mine is probably on the upper end of loud. There's still louder out there, but it's a little bit louder. It's one of the smaller. It's a smaller engine, but I don't know. The people I bought it from did some tweaking on it and made it a little bit louder, you know. Now, all my adulthood anyway, which has been 30 years as we describe adulthood, starting at 18. Anytime that I've been on the open road and I can remember motorcycles going by, specifically Harleys, I'm a little like, whoa, God, there's that rumble. And at the same time, kind of like aroused by that sound. Like, I want one of those.
Yeah.
But me and that version of myself for all those years, never thought of myself as the loud person.
Yeah.
As the guy who could ride that bike and not be stuck in some kind of arrogance or ego about it.
Right.
So therefore, I couldn't also perceive myself riding a bike that loud, because I didn't want to draw that kind of attention to myself, because I didn't feel like I had what it took to support that.
Yeah.
Well, a year ago, I bought the Harley. I actually wanted to buy Indian, which is almost as loud, but different. And I ended up buying this Harley. And now when I ride it, and just this last weekend, I did my first ever group ride with a bunch of other Harley riders. Two people in the group rode Honda Goldwings, so they don't make that noise. Because I was new to the group ride, I was in the back, except for the two Honda Goldwings who played, kind of making sure everything was safe behind us.
Okay.
So I was in the back except them, and so I'm behind several other Harleys, hearing their sound and even hearing mine. And that put me in a Zen place.
Interesting.
So now that I'm in the quote unquote chaos,
yeah,
I find it peaceful and enjoy and fun.
Yeah.
And very Zen-like. I could just almost like go into this meditative trance with it. So it's different,
so cool.
Because now I'm actually one with it, and I'm not feeling like this dissonance of being like, here's all this ruckus going on, but I have no control. And I'm not included in it.
Right.
I'm just surrounded by it, which, and I feel like that ties into the same thing when bees just come up and fucking bite me, or sting me, I should say.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. Like, I feel like it's the same thing. Like, I had no control. If I had known it was coming, I might not have allowed it. But maybe if I did know it was coming, I'd be prepared for it, and I'd have less of a shock reaction to it as well.
Yeah.
And so when you were talking about your story, or we're talking about your definition of chaos, control, I feel like control is the word, or the energy that runs through us, that separates us from having a blissful experience with what we call chaos, or a jarring experience with what we call chaos.
Yeah, I agree. So, that makes total sense.
So there's that. But then chaos, I mean, what is the universe? What is the world if not chaos? Right. I mean, here we have a great example happening in Hawaii, or I don't know, maybe it's done now, but
no, it's just starting.
new land being formed in front of our very eyes from the Big
Yeah.
Island volcano,
Yeah, the new island being created. Yeah.
right? That's
Mhm.
chaos,
Yeah.
and yet it's poetic. That's
Yeah.
that's creation.
Yeah.
You can't have creation. It just doesn't appear in this peaceful sense.
That's
There
so
is nothing
true.
that's brought into the physical realm without
Yeah.
some kind of chaos.
That's
So
so true. Mm.
so when you think about it, like, we have to have chaos. And so I wonder why we have this disconnect, this fear of chaos, when chaos is the almost the building
The
block
creation.
of creation.
Yeah. And oh my goodness, you just made me think of something. So the painting that I did, I showed you
Okay.
the painting that I did
Yeah.
for Austin.
Uh-huh.
That was pure chaos in the sense like I had paint everywhere. Like there was paint everywhere, like including in my hair, in
Mm.
my face. I was mixing my paint and it exploded on me. Like,
Mm. Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
it was creativity, it was creation. And I was having fun. I actually laughed about it. I thought it was so
Mm.
funny because I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I had like new freckles, white freckles on my face.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But yeah, you're right. Like it's the building block of creation
And we can't have and destruction.
and
Like, so
destruction.
right now we have
Yeah.
all the wildfires happening on the west coast of the United
Oh
States.
yeah. Yeah.
But those, people in the mind will go, oh my God, especially a bunch of spiritual douchebags, which is my favorite word, will be like, it's Mother Earth. She's pissed off at us because we aren't living it. Are you fucking kidding me? Before humans, fires still existed.
Yeah.
Volcano in Hawaii is proof number one. So kind of like, let me back slap your dumb little hand or your face or your ass and send you back to kindergarten to
Yeah.
say Mother Earth is not fucking pissed off at us because we have wildfires happening
Exactly.
without humans around to go, oh my
Part
God,
of
Mother Earth is
creation.
fucking pissed off at us. Mother Earth would be doing just fine without our obtuse intrusions.
Yeah. Totally.
So, you know,
Absolutely.
those fires lead to new creation, new species of plants, new species of
Mhm.
life. And if we
Mhm.
stop interfering, they will do what they're supposed to do, what they were doing before the introduction of the idiot human mind.
Yeah.
And they will create and destroy and create cyclically. And until we as humans know how to operate with that, as opposed to like telling Trump that it's his fault that wildfires exist in the world for thousands of years, and instead of being
Uh,
some fucking dumbass, like if
yeah.
we stop intruding upon that,
Mhm.
then nature actually runs a beautiful poetic course, and
Absolutely.
the earth already knows what it needs and wants. It may be moment by moment, but it's only doing what it needs and wants all the time. All the
Yeah.
I agree that there's a mitigation of damage that we can do, and I agree with that. I'm not trying to say that that's a thing, but
Right.
but chaos and destruction are really, really important for new life to evolve. and
Yeah.
and I think that what happens though is a lot of times in the human mind we get this concept that, like, the apocalypse is supposed to be something, if it's real at all, is supposed to be something
Hmm.
that's just like totally decimates all of humankind, and that, all the ridiculous old stories. It's just really an apocalypse would, if it's real at all, would just be this kind of awakening, I feel like,
Yeah.
where we're destroying essentially, but could be gently getting
Mhm.
rid of old paradigms in the system and in the collective that stop us from moving forward, so that
Yeah.
we can just smoothly move forward in a smooth cycle with the earth, with the universe, with all the things that make creation what it is. And then when we stop getting in our own way, then we open the door to the mystical aspects about ourselves
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
allow us to be helpful intentionally in the new creation.
Right. And that's I like the way that you say that destruction because the awakening is the destruction of the ego, the destruction of the
Right.
way, right?
Right.
And for so many people, that's how they go through the awakening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So complete chaos. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
for many, they can relate to that.
Nah, I'm raising my hand.
Mm.
It's true. It's the destruction of ego. And now, if you set yourself up to be like me, a real asshole about change, then you got a hard fall coming when the awakening begins.
Mm.
But if you're someone who never really like bought into chaos as a bad thing anyway,
Yeah,
I imagine you're the person that has more of a gentle transition through the awakening.
I did. Yeah, I definitely did. Not that
Mm,
it's easy, or but it's, I guess I just experience it differently than a lot of
yeah,
people. Yeah, less
yeah,
suffering. Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's, I like that. Mm.
so yeah, chaos is. I just think that's why I wanted to know in French how you would identify chaos, because I feel like there must be a language out there that when they use chaos, they use it in a way
In a
that makes them
positive way.
smile.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that it's got to be. If anyone, any listeners knows about it, just let us know. I would love to know if chaos means something
Yeah.
positive in some, maybe a First Nation or Native
Mm-hmm.
American, or because they
Mm-hmm.
seem to have different.
Tibetans or
Yeah.
Nepalese, or yeah, who
And
knows?
and probably chaos doesn't even exist for a word in some, right?
That might be true too.
Mm-mm. Because it
Yeah.
might just not be something that is recognized. Because I was looking at a documentary about, oh, I can't remember what they're called, but it's an animal that lives in Africa, and and they travel like long distance, and they travel in
Mm-hmm.
pack, and there's always like an attack from a lion or something, and they
Mm.
were explaining that the lion create chaos within the herd in order to feed, right? So by creating
Mm-hmm.
chaos, they spread
Mm-hmm.
out, and it allows
Mm-hmm.
the lion to pick one animal
Mm.
that is just freaking out. and, and
Mm-hmm.
and I found that's really interesting, because the one who survive are the ones that are able to stay calm and in a herd when the
Mm-hmm.
chaos happen. The one that die or get killed is the one that separate from the earth, because he's so freaked out by the situation. So
Mm.
it's
Mm.
kind of interesting to see how like they survive by embracing the chaos at the same
Mm.
time. So,
Mm-hmm.
and even they were showing them crossing a river, and there's like hundreds of them crossing the river, and then there's a crocodile that grabs one, but they're still crossing and swimming next to the crocodile, like, and they
Mhm.
don't seem bothered by it. It's so
And the crocodile form of attack is very chaotic.
oh my goodness.
It pulls you under the
Oh yeah,
water,
they
wraps
drown
itself
them.
around you. Yeah, it spins around. Totally
Yeah,
creates a completely chaotic experience.
completely. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was a very interesting show, because it just, I don't know, like some people would watch this and be like, "Oh my goodness, poor thing, like it's getting eaten by a crocodile," but at the same
Mm.
time, like the crocodile has to eat, and it happens that's his
Mm-hmm.
food. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it was
Mm-hmm.
just so interesting to see the interaction and
Mm.
the reaction of certain animals.
I get it. I get the sentience and I get the sensitivity to things. When even if I were
Yeah.
to see that, I'd have a sensitivity to it. But I wouldn't. I would definitely not judge the crocodile.
I know. No, I know. And like it is hard to watch, because like you always imagine yourself in the situation,
Mm,
right? Like the situation
mhm,
of the attack. Like that's the thing. But
mhm,
it was,
mhm,
what I noticed was the interaction of the other animals. They didn't seem at all bothered by the fact that there was one of them being eaten by a crocodile. Like they were still
mm,
going on with their
mhm,
thing, and
mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
was
Yeah.
not trying to save it either. That's what struck
Mm,
me. It was like no one is trying to save the animal. So there's that. I don't know. It was just
mhm.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think other animals, pack animals, might try. Who knows? You never
I don't
know. I
know.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's. I guess, yeah. So I mean, where does, like, for instance, where does chaos other than creation then? Like, how there's so many ways to view it. It's
Mhm.
subjective. Like I said with my story,
Yeah.
like I used to think Harleys were both invigorating and like kind of grinding on me when I would hear them. And now any Harley that I hear at any time, because I'm a rider, is like music to my ears almost more than anything else that
Yeah.
humans have made. And so I think a lot of times what happens, what might be helpful for us, what I've learned in the awakening journey is you got to go in the fire to get through it. So if something is really, really triggering, and we've talked about this in many different ways, but
Yeah.
here we have to do it again, I think, to go to stop having something be a trigger, you either just allow and accept it,
Mhm.
or you go into it and become part of it, at least long enough to not have it be a trigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the perception of chaos is subjective, but also what is chaotic for you and for me will be different, right?
Right.
Like not
And from
only the
moment to
reaction.
moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it goes
Yeah.
back to that sense of security, or that sense of everything will be okay, like I'll be safe or whatever. Like
Mm.
it goes back to that strong belief of trusting the universe that
Mm.
everything will fall in place. But I think it goes further when you start being comfortable with it and enjoying
Mhm.
it. It's way further than just safety.
Mm.
It's like embracing.
It's embracing. No, yeah, true. Start with allowance or acceptance and work your way into embracing. And I think that's where we have the hardest time
Hmm.
in any change is to embrace, how, yesterday I had to stop following this very popular bass electronic music DJ, the most popular, named Bass Nectar, because he's kind of an asshole, and has a known asshole crowd. And
Okay.
on his Instagram, he said, I want all you motherfuckers who follow me who are Trump supporters or racists or this or that. I want you to stop following me, and I don't want you to come to my show because Trump is this and Trump is that, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
I'm like, oh,
interesting.
wow, you actually sound like Trump plus 100%.
Yeah, that's
Because
forcing
Trump,
people.
you're saying Trump shouldn't build a wall, but you're saying you shouldn't come to my show. What's the fucking difference?
Yeah.
You're saying Trump is this and that. Well, fuck you for coming to my show if you believe any of that. What's the difference? You
Yeah.
know,
That's so
so
true.
you
Mm.
know and I didn't actually want to unfollow it, but I thought, I'm in a place right now where I'm allowing myself to say it's just okay. I've
Mhm.
gone through now deeper into that and fire of embracing people who communicate like that, which means that I embrace the part of me more and more that communicates like that, because we all
Right.
do. Nobody is exempt.
Right.
and and so by disconnecting from him, I said, I honor you and your truth, and I honor me and that truth that you carry, that Trump carries, that we all carry, that's in me.
Mm.
For now, I'm going to step away from that sort of dialogue, because even though I use it here on our show, I'm 100% a hypocrite as much as any other human, you know. And I feel like there's two things that I'm saying here. One is embrace that we're hypocrites,
Mm.
because that alone can stop a lot of chaos that
Yeah.
we don't like.
Yeah.
And number two, that it's okay to lovingly step away from something and not really like, because my mind was like, I want to go and I want to comment on this page, but what's that going to do? It's not going to stop anything. It's not going to make me feel any different. It's not going to activate some kind of change in gears for me. So what would
Right.
I be doing that for? Well, and also every time he posts something like that. So I don't really want to keep following that sort of thing.
Right.
But I
Because you
don't
don't
I don't
connect.
want to not listen to his music. I hear his music from time to time and I like
Yeah.
it. And it is
Yeah.
actually he is known for controlled chaos. He's a genius when it comes to electronic composition music. And
Yeah.
so he's a fucking genius, and one entitled to his expressionism.
Mhm.
But I feel maybe he could hold a mirror up and just kind of look at it for a little while. But that's up to him. It's not up to me. And I don't need to kind of always put myself in the position of looking at that stuff to constantly then hold a mirror up to myself and say, where am I incongruent? Because as long as here's the other part of it, is like, as long as I'm going, how incongruent am I? I'm actually never moving forward in my life.
Right. That's so true. And I think you touch on something that some people, when faced with chaos, or when faced with something that is
Mhm.
like triggering us and bringing difficulties,
Mhm.
some people choose that drama route where like they'll
Mhm.
comment on it and they'll be like
Mhm.
feeding that chaos and that
Feed that dragon, the chaos dragon.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that what I know is from what you say is that like you just chose not to go in that space. You just chose
Mhm.
not to be dramatic about it, or like you just left the whole situation, but
Mm.
like you
Mhm.
said, lovingly. And that's the key. It's not that it's triggering you, it's just
Mhm.
it's not merging, it's not
Mhm.
compatible anymore with what you're looking
It
for.
reminds me of when I was a kid and my dad made me eat a salad that had a big chunk of raw broccoli, and I had a small mouth. I didn't like vegetables. I didn't like broccoli, certainly. And he made me eat it raw, and I was having a hard time, and I just couldn't get it down. I could not get it down. Ultimately, ended up throwing it up.
Yeah.
I know I like broccoli, but like it just it reminds me of that when I come across these sorts of energies. It's like no matter how much I try and digest it, it won't go down.
Down. Yeah.
But at some point, it probably will go down smoother. So right now, I figure, well, if I don't want to uh, if I don't want to be like listening to or seeing an abundance of that kind of dialogue, it's
Mhm.
okay. And by allowing myself the ability to kind of lovingly check out of it, I think I'm offering myself a little bit of a diversion myself when I come across that aspect of me. To say
Yeah.
it's okay, I can lovingly go a different direction if the chaos that might ensue from what I'm about to do or communicate would not be loving or kind to the situation. So I
Right.
feel like, well, something I was saying earlier, for how do we embrace becoming part of the chaos in a com- communal way that's really like helping encourage growth? And how do
Mm.
we do that and know that it's okay to do that? And I feel like part of it is to say, it has to start first within
Mhm.
individually, as anything does,
Mhm.
and get to a point in ourselves where we know that if what we're about to do or say could cause chaos of some kind, is it really necessary at that moment, or is it just a
Yeah.
reflection of something in our fear, in our drama inside that hasn't
Yeah.
been sorted through yet?
Exactly. You know, when I was sharing about the moment where my emotions were chaotic, I kind of like I was almost hysterical, and but Austin, my partner, stayed calm.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and he wasn't feeding that drama, and I think that's what we can do. Like within the whole community and everyone, like it's finding that capacity to be at peace when chaos happen.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
for that, that's probably what allowed me to grow even more from that situation, was that
mm,
okay, like he wasn't seeing the chaos, so
mm-hmm,
therefore maybe I'm wrong, right? You start questioning your ego
mm,
side
mm-hmm,
aspect of it, and then you realize okay, like this is ridiculous,
mm.
and it's not chaotic. I'm creating that whole chaos in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I
But
feel like
I think it sounds like you did a good job, though. You didn't really shame yourself for what you went through.
no, I didn't shame myself. I was embarrassed though. Yeah, I was embarrassed about the whole reaction, but that's by forgiving myself to be in that state, it kind of
Mm,
allowed me to whatever, like it happened,
mhm,
it
mhm,
happened, and
mhm,
you know, like being in a stable relationship and with a man who's very mature
mhm,
and knows that that's not my normal state allowed me to like move on very
mm,
quickly. But I feel
mhm,
like if we're feeding other people chaos,
mhm,
reacting to it and also judging it, I feel like that's how we're feeding more chaos and more and more and more. It's just like the news, right? For me, the news are chaotic.
mm,
Like
mhm,
it's
mhm,
something that I do exactly like you did with that artist. Like I just completely disconnect from the news because I don't relate to that. I don't.
mhm.
It's like,
Yeah,
ugh.
yeah. And I mean, when it comes to opinions, there's never a winning answer. So, and
Oh, exactly.
that's all the news does is spin opinions, whether
Yeah.
it's their own or the opinions of the people who put the stockholders of the news company
Yeah.
or whatever,
Mm,
it just spins more. But it spins uncontrolled chaos, and I feel
mhm.
like that's something that should be addressed here, maybe on our last little go on this episode, is like controlled chaos. You
Yeah.
know,
What is control chaos? How do you perceive
hmm.
that?
I think that we were building up towards it a little bit ago. Anyway, I feel like what can we, maybe you can, but we got to find a metaphor for controlled chaos
Well, I
because there's
guess
plenty of it.
my experience of like painting, for example, was very
Mm,
control chaos.
okay,
Like
good.
I chose
Yeah.
to be in the chaos situation. I chose to have paint all over, and I was allowing myself to be
Mm,
in that creative space.
mm. Jimi Hendrix. I mean, you name any musician, truly. Controlled chaos. You're taking this voice that we have or instruments that we can play, and unless we've been practicing with these instruments, the voice or a synthetic instrument, unless we've been practicing with them for a long time, they're chaotic. They just don't
That's so
sound
true.
in harmony. And
Kids
so, but
that
what
learn, yeah.
the more that we practice, the more fine tuned they become.
Mm,
So it takes practice. So controlled chaos itself is a practice, and it's a practice within. And then the more people that are practicing within, the more that can come together and start to practice it as a group, as a collective. And you might
yeah.
have an orchestra, you
Yeah.
might have a 9-piece jazz ensemble. You might have, I don't know. There's so many different examples, but you know, with an orchestra, you've got, I don't know how many musicians that at some point in their various lives all sounded horrible at their instrument
Yeah. Yeah.
and have worked their way up to be in a philharmonic or something,
Mhm.
and that's controlled chaos. And it's
Yeah.
poetic. It was poetic all the time, truthfully, but now it's in this controlled boom,
Hmm.
and now you have this amazing experience that just activates millions of people
Yeah.
if they come across it, especially live, so there's controlled chaos too. Any art, really, a lot. You brought it up by saying your art, but most art, I think, is really a good example of controlled chaos.
Absolutely. I agree.
Van Gogh, controlled chaos, 100%.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think really that maybe controlled chaos on a collective scale, where it would actually change the world, not just from within, but as a collective, so that externally we are seeing a different world collectively, would be just what we're doing now. More and
Mm.
more awakenings, more and more inner work, fine-tuning
Yeah.
our personal instruments, showing up to where we have a few good orchestra conductors who are really good with energy and holding a vision, and everybody doing their part to make that
Yeah.
energy come true. I
Yeah, I
guess that's
love
what I would
that.
say.
Absolutely. I love that. That's such a great analogy and also reality. I feel like
Mm,
that's what's happening. Like there's so many awakening around us, so many
mm-hmm,
people going through a difficult moment, and you just want to shake them and be like, it's going to be okay.
mm, mm,
Right?
mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm,
you know what happens at the end when you've gone through it.
mm-hmm.
But that's right. It's like it's popping everywhere, like those reactive, but I guess we were all there at some point. So for
Yeah.
me, it's also learning to embrace the people in chaos and
Mm,
like learning to be there for them as
mm-hmm,
opposed to judge what they're going through or who they are when they're going through it.
good points for
Hmm.
sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we can continue to pull many examples. I don't know. Do you feel that there's anything lingering in your chaotic factor right now that to be talked about?
No, not so much. I feel like the past 3 weeks has definitely been a theme for me. Like I'm
Mm,
just realizing that as we speak. And I'm just curious if listeners have gone through it, because we've talked about Mercury retrograde. I know you're
Mm-hmm.
not too much into that, but I noticed that when it's Mercury retrograde, which just ended this Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people revisit past insecurities or
Mm.
past chaos, past drama. So yeah, I just feel like it definitely has been playing that
Mm.
theme for many people, many of us. It's been chaotic. A lot of people losing people in their life, suicides. Like it
Mm.
seems like there's been a lot of like that turmoil happening around
Interesting.
us. Mm. So
I
I'm
don't pay
sure.
attention to anything external that way, so I guess I don't
Yeah.
catch most of that usually.
Well,
I
I work in a
haven't.
hospital also, so I'm very
Okay,
close to the collective health.
got it. I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you got, on another hand, you could also say you were feeling very sensitive to the changes, and so therefore you were calling
I
in
was noticing.
your visibility of these things more. Maybe they've always been
Absolutely.
there, and maybe they still are. You're just not tuned into it as much now. You could
Absolutely.
also say that's a thing, and I feel like that's an important thing for people to realize too. Is that
Mhm.
just because we're noticing it doesn't mean it's true. It's very subjective.
Right.
Just because we're noticing it, and that really is going back to maybe how I would finalize, is something I've already said several times throughout this episode, is chaos is still subjective.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. And it's funny because it reminds me of the book. I can't remember. It's like book about experimenting with like um one of the experiment they have is they just say, okay, today you're going to count all the red cars that you see.
Mm,
Well, the red cars are always there. We just don't notice them. But when you start paying attention, the day that I did that experiment, I saw like 500 cars in this very small town, like
mm,
that were red. And I was
mm-hmm,
like, oh my goodness, it's all red car in this
mm-hmm,
in this city, right? But
mm-hmm.
I would say that to someone who live in the city, and they would be like, what are you talking
What are
about?
you talking about?
Not just all red cars.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
you're right. It's whatever you feed, right? Whatever you pay
Yeah.
attention to. That's so
Yeah.
true.
And the more we try to get other people to pay attention to what we're seeing, we have to ask ourselves why.
Right.
Why are we doing that?
Well,
What does it matter? Like, why
yeah,
can't we just be the observer of what's going on and acknowledge that, instead of having to drop other people into what we consider our truth at that moment?
right. But I think the key is when you notice those pattern, it's to learn the message it has for you, not
For
that,
you.
oh, I'm like everyone. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like I have to deal with chaos today. It seems like to be the theme that is
Mm-hmm.
resonating with me. So like for example, my sister recently connected with me. She's like, I've been seeing a blue heron everywhere. And I was like, oh, me too. That's funny. Here's what it means. It must mean the same, a similar theme for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it meant the same thing for her too. So
Mm-hmm.
it has that ability to bring you the people also in
Mm-hmm.
order to understand the message that is meant for you. Does the blue
I f-
heron mean something for wind? Probably not, but do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
yeah,
But if I saw it in an ominous setting, then I would go, hey, that's getting me to pay attention. And then it would be up to me, if I chose to pay attention and
yeah,
chose to uh, listen, to see what it was trying to tell me, for sure.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, otherwise, if I saw a blue heron and it didn't mean much to me, then it didn't have anything for me at that time. But could
Exactly.
very well be right next to somebody who did see the blue heron and felt something with it, and they have something to gain from it. And I feel like it's good to share that, like, hey, I've seen this, but don't tell me that I have to have an experience of that blue heron with you at that
Right,
moment,
right,
because I don't.
exactly,
It's just
exactly.
like the same thing, like, and always come back to this, like, come back to politics. Don't tell me that I need to pay attention to what Trump is doing or not doing in the world. I don't need to. It doesn't
No,
affect my life. Don't
right.
ask me, or if you're on Trump's side, don't ask me, just because you go to the bathroom and see "fuck Trump" on the wall, that I should feel somehow offended by that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't agree with that. You know, I
yeah.
shouldn't have to. That was your experience. Thanks for sharing. If
Mhm.
you really want me to give you an assessment, I'll say, well, this is what I see. It's telling you, and maybe you want to look at that.
Yeah.
And
I
that's my
told you.
truth. That's my truth.
Yeah.
um but I actually hold that back. I have been holding that back a lot, but in the terms of chaos, I feel how it's personalized for me right now. And I think why it came up as a word that you thought that I would use and I should use is because I'm about to step into controlled chaos on purpose now. And I've been
Mm,
holding that off for a long time because I've had a lot of external feedback telling me that that's a wrong experience, as I would have said at the beginning of this show, not just from
right.
one person, but from almost everybody in my life from the day I was born. And
Interesting.
there's another group of people out there who have been waiting for me to show up with the controlled chaos. And I've been almost like not showing up for that energy through those people, which means that I've been not showing up for that energy in myself. And I am,
Mm,
I think, by definition, controlled chaos 100%. And I think that the energy that I carry is so strong that it literally will change a lot of things. And a lot of people have made me believe that I should not be that energy. And
right.
I've given it my go. I've given it my best. And now I've had 2 or 3 dreams this week that have led me into, no, it's your time.
Mm,
And including those people, I mean, actually, I'll just tell you the dream that I woke up to this morning real briefly. I was standing on this, it would be essentially maybe a mountaintop, but there was no panorama.
okay.
It's almost as if you were in the clouds,
Yeah.
in storm clouds that were just about to be stormy, but you could see nothing else. But I was standing on seemingly solid ground. To my right is my one coworker, who's going in and out of this, whether they want to have an awakening or how do they trying to control how their awakening goes.
Hmm.
Immediately to my right, just like maybe 10 feet away, 10 meters away, actually. No. 10 feet, three and a half meters away from me, to my
Okay.
right. And then off to my left, off in the distance, like maybe actually 10 meters away, is a silhouetted figure that I think was Allison, my twin flame. And then directly in front of me was Taylor, my partner. And right in front of us was this big, ominous storm cloud. And
Mm,
we knew behind that storm cloud was a city, probably Asheville, North Carolina, where I'm living right now. We knew there was a city there, but we couldn't see it. All we could see was this big cell moving right towards us, and that's all you could see, except for each other.
okay.
And we were all looking at it like a big film, like an apocalyptic film, but it was
Mm,
real and it was alive. Me and Taylor in front of me were both like, this is cool. We're ready. Off to the side, that silhouetted person, which if it wasn't physically, it was at least energetically similar to, or maybe actually Allison. And then to my right is this coworker who I can't get into enough of it in this episode to do it justice, but basically the one who knows what the awakening is, but defiantly doesn't want it.
mhm.
That silhouetted figure off to the left hand side is almost if it were Allison, is almost the female counterpart of my coworker. And here I was in the background just observing with complete awesomeness, looking at this cell coming at us, going, "Fuck yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for this." And I was like, once I go in, I'm not coming out.
Yeah.
And Taylor in front of me was like, I know this is going to be cool. I'm going in too. And then this Allison like figure off to the left was like, I'm going in too, but just a different way. But I'm going to have my own cool experiences, but I'm ready now too.
That's neat.
And then my coworker started laughing, this childlike laughter, like the Buddha laughing. And he was just like, he's like, I get it, man. I get it. I know what you see in there. I know what it is. I'm not fucking going in. I'm leaving.
Oh, interesting. That's
And
interesting.
I was like, and I did just that. I was like, interesting. And I said, I have no other direction to go. That's my way.
Yeah.
And I knew that once I stepped into there, that the figures on my flanks, the left and the right, were essentially going to lose contact with me,
Hmm.
at least the me that they've somehow
Known
known.
before. Yeah.
The me that caters to no chaos. The me that
Right.
caters to emotional plane, feeling like it needs to be heard. You know,
Mm.
like it's me going in here and saying, not saying fuck you, because I literally said to him like, okay, I get it, because I was laughing. I was like, this is my home,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
I'm
right.
like, this is me, man. Like,
Yeah,
I've been holding this off for all the people that feel that I shouldn't be here, that feel that the world shouldn't be this. I've been holding that off. And the only way forward for me is in there, and I'm not coming back out. So it was
so
interesting
cool.
because I had zero judgment for any of the characters. I didn't even care if I only went in alone.
Yeah,
But I was like, I'm not, everything behind me is behind me, and this is the only direction now.
yeah.
And so
Wow.
that, to me, it's funny that I had that dream as we're about to do this episode about chaos, because what's in there is that chaos, that controlled chaos, learning how to control the chaos on
Right,
a
because
large
you
scale.
chose to go for it. You chose it,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
chose, it chose me or whatever
yeah,
before this body came into physicality. It was
right,
already there. It's already what the essence of what's inside this body is. And so now I just have zero things standing in front of me anymore to tell within me, represented through other people that are
right,
stopping me from going in and being that.
right.
So, and
Exactly.
I feel like more people will join once they see how safe it is. But
Mhm,
we need
mhm.
people to say, hey, this is where creation really lies for something brand new
Right,
in the world.
right, exactly. No, I relate to that.
Hmm.
Totally agree. Mm.
Man.
Thank you for sharing this. This is really interesting. You always have fascinating dreams. When is like the person that dreams so, I don't know. Every time you talk about your dreams, it's like it's so real.
Yeah, well, most of my dreams are visions.
Vivid.
I'd say 90%, and the
Yeah,
other 10% is still like iffy. But most of my dreams are visionary. So yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
cool.
But I
Mhm.
mean, it takes all types, and that's my superpower.
Yeah,
Everybody's got some
exactly.
cool fucking superpowers, man. Everyone does.
That's so true. We all have superpowers.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
I've
well,
had fun with this one, and
yeah, me too. That was a great episode. I really love how like chaos in the end can be a good thing.
mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm,
like the analogy with the nature. I think people need to think about this, like how nature can be chaotic but yet so
mm.
beautiful and the platform for creation.
Most people I know love a good thunderstorm,
Yeah,
lightning, thunder, winds, rain. Most people I
yeah.
know love that on some level. So there's some controlled chaos that almost everybody seems to love.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Well, thank you so much, Win, for sharing with
yeah.
us today. That was awesome. I
You
really enjoyed
too.
it.
Thanks for sharing your stories with us. You know,
Yeah,
we got this.
yeah, we do. And
Yeah,
listeners, if you have any chaotic stories to share with us, we'd love
yeah,
to hear from you. And
definitely.
thank you for attending episode
Yeah,
15.
16.
16. Thank you.
You
Yes.
got lucky number 17. I don't know why, but that feels like a good number. So
Yeah.
we'll see what
We'll see
happens
how
on
it
17
goes.
now.
Yeah.
All right.
See you next week.
Bye everybody.
Bye.